that too, right?
It's the whole thing.
That was really good. Greg Scheinman here with the man himself, Jesse Itzler.
It's great to have you here.
Midlife Male, Big Ass Calendar Club. We're here because I want to finish 2025 strong, and I want to start 2026 off even stronger. And who better to work that plan with than yourself? So we're going to get after it today about what's happening for the next 45 days and what's going to be ahead for the next 365. You know, I try to take these things from a free-flowing standpoint.
It's totally fine.
And just look around and be like, okay, like you mentioned tired, and it's like, I wanted to ask you that because I'm starting to feel a little bit tired. You know, when you get on these stretches where it's Houston to Florida, Florida to Boulder, it's physical, and then it's here, getting it almost midnight, and then it's talking. It's like, do you get tired?
I didn't get tired at 53. It was 57. The switch flipped recently. I don't get tired. I just get uninterested, I would say. I'm not like physically tired, like, oh my God, I can't. Just more like I'm questioning a lot of things that I'm doing lately. Like, why, you know? And if, like, I was the same until from 20 to 51, I was like the same. Like, same energy level. I'll do anything. Same, like, I'm the underdog. I have something to prove. Like, and then all of a sudden I was like, I wasn't. So, you know, and a lot of that's having kids, 4 kids, and how you want to spend your time, you know. But, and then, you know, I lost my parents, I lost my sister, so that impacted things a little bit too, like, changed a little bit of my perspective on everything. But I won't really say I get tired, but it's like hard to stay motivated this long. You know, like, even my running, I was running like I wanted to be in the Olympics till I was 40, 45. And then all of a sudden at 45, I was like, you know, it's hard to stay motivated.
Can you flip that switch also that quickly? When I lose motivation for something, just flip it to something else. Meaning, like, I've been running 20 miles a day or chasing this thing, and that I just don't feel like, is it a Forrest Gump moment? You just stop, you know, like, let me just go to something else right now.
I don't know. I think I have a lot of things that keep me. I mean, again, like, a lot of it has to do with the age of your kids for me. So I have 4 kids. So if you go back 5 years ago, my daughter's 4, my boys are 5, my oldest, it's different. They're in a different genre. And now at 10, like, the sports are more fun, practices, I want to go to everything. I don't want to miss anything. So I literally flew home yesterday, 3 hours out of my way to go to a practice, and then got on a plane. My plane was at 10:50. Like, what I did made no sense to anyone. It made no sense, but it made all the sense in the world to me. So that's a reason why I'm tired. I'm like going out of my way to do things that don't really make sense in the normal world, but make absolute sense to me.
Why do you think it doesn't make sense in the normal? I see it like you see it. You know, like, I think that decision is the normal decision.
Because I think that most people don't realize how few of those things you have. Like, you know, I had an amazing, like, let's just take this year's football season for my kids. They're in 5th grade, they played football, whatever. And let's say that I missed, and let's say they had 2 practices a week, and the season is, I don't even know, 8 weeks. It's 16 practices of the whole thing. That's all they get in their lifetime. I'll never be able to get that back. Ever. No matter how much money I have, no matter what happens, I can't get back those 16. That's nothing. That's nothing. They're hour practices. That's 16 hours. I'll never be able to get those back. So, like, those practices matter to me. So I think a lot of people think, oh, yeah, it's like, well, you know, well, there's another one coming up and I'll miss this. It's like, that doesn't work like that for me. I look at it, I'm very, like, dialed into the math behind that. So, you know, you miss 2 or 3 practices, you miss 4 practices, it's not a big deal because there's 12. No, that's a big deal. It's 25% of the season. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And plus I like it.
I think
I'd rather do that than, you know, a lot of other things.
But that perspective, I think, is lost on a lot of men, thinking that they always are going to have time or they'll do it later, or they'll make up for it. And you had mentioned that you lost your parents recently. You had your parents lived to a nice full age, full life. Right? I lost my dad when I was 17. So he was 47. So that perspective that you share was always like really, really important to me to not miss these moments. I hit 47 and that was, you asked me like how this got started. Like, okay, like I'm in bonus time right now. Like I've been wasting a lot of time, missing a lot of moments, so I could either squander this or pour some rocket fuel on it and go. Did you always like have this value of time? Like,
I would say more so now than I did like when I was younger. But yeah, I always was able to, from a young age, even in like young age, like my 20s and 30s, I was always packing 5 days into one. So, when I turned 50, I was basically 250 because I was living 5 days in one. Everything is 5x. And I was always really efficient with getting things done. And but as I got older, you start to put more on your plate. So as you put more on your plate, you can't keep filling up your plate without taking things off your plate. So as I got older, like I started bringing more in. Like I would sign up for a race, but then I still wanted to go to the practices and all this stuff. So I had to start taking things off. So I started to like, a lot of people think when you add something big, oh, I don't have time for that. Like I can't do that. When you put something big on your calendar, like a marathon, you have to train for it. But what happens is it forces you to say, those big moments I found force you to say no to the things that like don't really move the needle in your life. So I've been able to like, as far as time, put really big objectives on my goal list or calendar or whatever. But at the same time, I've done a good job of then weeding out things. For example, I watched a shitload of sports on TV. I was betting when I was younger. I was watching the college games, the pro games, Monday night, Thursday night. When I added it up, I'm like, every one of those blocks is 3 hours. Because you have money on the game. You're watching all the way. Like, even though it's 37-0, you have the over, you're still watching.
You're invested.
Yeah, like I'm like, no, this is what I paid to watch the last drive of the game. So, so I just eliminated that. I literally cold turkeyed it. And I got all this time back, So I started doing that in other areas of my life too, like eliminating stuff. Now you have Instagram and social and all these things that also can drain your time. So that's how I look at it, and I continue to layer in really big things. Right now I'm writing 3 books at once. And to do that, I've eliminated a lot of things. I'm also on friend reduction right now.
I want to talk about that then. Friend reduction at a time where most guys are struggling with relational loneliness is a big thing. For a lot of guys, they don't have a lot of friends. Guys that I think that have also put themselves out there. I experienced this when I was getting active again and cutting the drinking down, looking to climb the mountain. I had to turn over a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
So, in there. What's your criteria for friend reduction?
Well, it's interesting. Like if we were born 100 years ago, all of our friends would live on the same block, basically, and our family. But now, and that's the way humans lived forever. But now your parents are in Florida, you're in New York, your brother's in California, your college roommates are in Arizona. Like everyone's could be so spread out. And for me, very spread out because I live in Atlanta. I'm a New Yorker. I moved here 15 years ago, whatever, with no friends here, 0. I didn't know anybody. And so I left my friend group, and I had to make all new friends, which as you get older, that's difficult. Like, your criteria changes as you get older. So I've evolved a lot over the last 20 years, and some of my friends haven't. They're still drinking. I don't really drink anymore. They're still doing this, or maybe they're divorced or whatever. So nothing against any of those guys at all. It's just that's not where my energy is, And like sometimes people call me up and they're like, you've changed so much. I'm like, yeah, I have 4 kids. I'm married for 18 years with 4 kids. yeah, I changed. Like, I go to sleep early. So, um, yeah, and I don't want, I get a lot of energy from people. There's some people get energy from energized being around people, and other people that's really draining. I get a lot of energy from people, but also people can zap my energy super easily. So it's the zappers that I try to weed out. There's people that it's always heavy. You have friends that are like it's always heavy. It's always like I just can't be around that much.
I think you do a really good job of always, like, your message is always positive. Like, it's very real. It's very, I think, authentic, and I think that word is overused a lot. But like a lot of successful guys, successful people, they almost kind of get like weird and don't seem approachable anymore. Or like, really, you do a very good job. I don't think it's a job. I think it is very, very real in what you do. Is it impulse? Is it strategy? Is it thought out? Like,
It's definitely not strategy. Thank you for that, first of all. No, I just think, nothing I like to think that nothing in my life has really changed we're both New Yorkers, we're both from Long Island. And I'm sure we grew up, Freddie, did you go to summer camp?
yeah, every summer, Center Harbor, New Hampshire,
Yeah.
Camp Winookie, all that school I
Right.
did, and you get shipped out for 8 weeks for 8 summers in a row.
Right,
That's
right.
that's what I did.
So like our upbringing was probably very similar. But for some reason, I grew up in Roslyn, but my existence in Roslyn was a little bit different than typical people from Roslyn. So we grew up in Long Island, now wealthy neighborhoods, Great Neck, Roslyn, etc. But, and I'm not downplaying this at all, but my parents were older. My parents were older than my friends' parents for the most part. And they were the first, my dad bought the first house in Roslyn. There were 4 homes built, and they bought one of the first 4 homes. They paid $35,000 for it. It was 48 feet long. That's like the size of what we're in right now. And when my mother told me that, I couldn't believe it. And my dad owned a plumbing supply house, and we never talked about business. He worked in this plumbing business for six and a half days of the week every week, but still showed up for everything. And we never really talked about money or anything like this. My mom didn't fly, so we didn't travel much. We kind of just stayed around. And I always felt like around me were Madoffs, this guy on Wall Street, this guy, like all these people started emerging in Roslyn. And my dad's painting the garage every Sunday, like we're going to the dump every Saturday. I'm going to his office, on the weekends. It was a cool way to grow up. But it was very like underdog mentality in my house. Like my dad came up felt like an underdog, and I kind of felt like the underdog for whatever reason. And I've always kept that. So I don't know if I've always, even now, I know what we have here. But I don't feel like that. I really don't, I flew commercial yesterday. I fly commercial all the time. And a guy sitting next to me in first class last night knew me and asked to take a picture. Said, sure. He texted a picture and he posted it I'm sitting next to him on the flight, and he posted it. And I go, I guarantee you're going to get a lot of comments and say, why is this guy flying commercial? Which is so funny. Like that was and sure enough, it lit up. But the guy flies commercial? What's he doing flying commercial? My knee-jerk reaction is like, why do you care how I fly? But I love flying commercial. I love flying private too. But I like it. I like it. I like it, man. I need to, not that that's a reminder, but sometimes I need to be on that long line. Mm-hmm. I need the guy at TSA to question me, and if you start to lose all that, I don't know, man. I need the races in my life. I need the challenges. I need to run every day. I've never outgrown that, and I don't want to outgrow that.
I think it's really human.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's really refreshing to hear.
Well, it's just like my parents. I was always around for 55 years of my life. I was around that. Even when I was selling, like, marquee, when we sold our companies, um, I never like went crazy on a shopping spree or anything. I never like I don't know. I bought a nicer bike.
I came up just a town over, but a little bit differently. I didn't feel like the underdog. I felt like there was nowhere to go but down. Like, and that put a lot of pressure on me. You're surrounded by wealth. I come from a real well-off family. We never really experienced any hardship until my father got sick and then ultimately passed away. Then it was, okay, well, I guess I can do anything right now because I don't have to follow this path. And I wonder now with where you've gotten, and I've got two boys, 19 and 22, and you've got four kids. And I really think a lot about entitlement and enabling and how differently my kids are even being raised, right now, and
Yeah.
and values, and really what the definition of wealth and a life well lived is. Because it's not the money. Like, again, like, it's nice. Like, I'm not against any of it. I love it all.
No, me too.
It provides a lot of opportunity for experiences, adventures to fill our calendars with amazing and awesome things. But, like, it's not about the possessions per se or that. So how do you approach it with your kids? I know you're so active with them in the time.
Yeah, first just go back to the money versus the motivation and all that stuff. The money to me gets compartmentalized. Like, that lives in a separate category. That doesn't impact drive. Like, I think for a lot of people, money impacts drive. It doesn't, it's just separate for me. It's not a scorecard, it's a safety net. I have it, it's there, but it doesn't impact what I want to do forward one iota. It doesn't influence, I'm doing this to make more money, I'm doing this to, like, I compartmentalize that. And then, when you talk about, like, motivation, goals, underdog, that's a whole different bucket. That bucket for me, this is like a breakthrough session, man. It's like therapy. That bucket for me has stayed consistent since I'm fucking 11. And that's been, competitive with myself. Like, it's about what I think my potential is, which I don't think I've come close to scratching the surface on what that could be. And that is its own animal, and the money's its own. But they don't merge. If they start to merge, the money's going to water it all down. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean by that?
I think I do, yeah. What areas do merge? I mean, like, when you talk about untapped potential for yourself, but also I'm going to fly back and be at practice. Like, I think in a lot of these things merge.
Yeah, values merge. With it, I think that what's important, they're all different buckets. Like, when you think about your definition of success, right? Like, everyone talks about, like, this guy's successful or she's successful. And, like, well, it all depends on what your definition of success is. I remember when I was first going to these meetings in New York City, like, when we sold our first company, I was 27, and I sold it to a company called SFX. The guy who owned it did a big roll-up of like 80 companies, and we would bring all the leaders of the companies together for a meeting. My partner and I were the youngest two guys, and I felt I did not belong in that room. And I just remember I hated the days when they brought everyone together because I just hated it. I felt like, I didn't, imposter syndrome, but like on to the 50th degree. And, oh God, it's just like, just even thinking about it is
Now, that was Alphabet City, right?
Alphabet City.
Okay. The Go New York, the jingles and the music. Was that what that was?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I was cutting Sports Illustrated commercials at that time.
Yeah.
Dropping your stuff in. The ones that went on after, like, the Rangers won the cup.
Yeah.
And you could get the video.
Yes.
So I was listening to that shit year after year,
That's
season
funny.
after season.
But I remember sitting in those meetings, and then, like, after having met some of these guys that had made a ton of money, and some of them were really good guys, but a lot of them were assholes. And I was like, they're super rich, but they're assholes. And, like, when you pick all this stuff up when you're young, you don't know. Like, I wasn't, and I just remember being like, I don't want to, like, become like an asshole, like, and but to everyone else, you're seeing super success. So what's your definition of success? So for me, one of my definitions is choosing the buckets that are most important to you. So maybe that's relationships or health or, whatever they are, whatever, business, whatever. And being as good as you can in those buckets, and that's something that I've stuck with. So one of those to me is like being a dad, So I want to be as good as I can be in that bucket. So that's why it doesn't merge. You know what I mean? Like that's its own individual bucket. So I guess I really compartmentalize these things and try to attack them in their own lanes.
And that's prioritization too. Is that the way you build out your year? Yeah. Is that the way you build out your year and your calendar? Starting with, okay, it's family first, or those things go on the calendar, and whether it's birthdays or whether that's practices and graduations and those things.
Selfishly, I build out my year first around me. I think, because I don't want to resent my kids or my wife or my family for taking away the things that I want to do. Like if I start filling up everything around them and I'm like, well, I wanted to, do a 29 or 29, but now I can't because I'm going to get mad at my kids or my wife. I don't want that. So selfishly, I do prioritize myself first. I start to put down the races, my speeches, the things that are important to me on the calendar first. And then obviously my family and kid stuff is part of that, but that goes down on my calendar first, always.
Okay. Do you then, when you put that out there, do you get to points where you say, okay, this is too much, or now when I start to build in some of the other stuff?
No, I'm 57. How many years do I have left to do the things that I love to do? This summer on my lake, when I took my kids water skiing, I didn't see a lot of 70-year-olds water skiing on the lake. I'm sure there are. I didn't see them. When you go to 29, you don't see a lot of 80-year-olds up on the hill. When I'm skiing on the mountain, yes, there's people that I don't see a ton. So I'm 57, I'm staring 70 in the face. I'm staring 80, that's 20 years away. That's insane. So the relevant years that I have to do the things that I love to do at a level that I want to do them at, it's shrinking fast. So these years and planning these years in my 50s and early 60s, I think are critical. I truly believe that the next 5 to 10 years and what I do, who I do them with, are critical. And I don't want to blow that. So I take my planning very, very seriously. 50 to 70, it's what we worked for. You worked your ass off in your 30s and your 40s for 50 to 70. So I don't want to blow 50 to 70. That's why I did it. We did everything. Yeah, we did have some fun along the way, obviously. But now, what a gift, man, to be able to be in a position where you can do the 29 or 29s that you did and the trips that you take and, from 50 to 70, when you're still active and able to move around Europe and enjoy the stuff and fall down and not get hurt. It's all about 50 to 70. And I think that people, sadly, my dad's generation, when you retired, that was it. Kind of read a book and went on your little rocking chair, and to be able to not retire, but be able to live you have you're kind of retired in your 50s and all the way 60s and 70s is an unbelievable gift that I want to take advantage of.
What do you want to do to take advantage of it now? What are you looking forward to? What's on that list now?
Well, the more experiences I can do, the better. So I think that I'm over-indexing in that bucket. Definitely, it's very simple. When I turned 50, I made a promise that I'm going to put more on my plate of whatever it is I love to do with the people I love to do it with. So that's exactly what I've been doing. Last year, I took 10 friends to Finland. 2 years ago, I took 10 friends to bike. We took our bikes across the United States of America. I'm going on trips with my family. We went to Finland. We're going to Japan. We went to Fiji. Went to Africa. So, yeah, I'm really trying to live up to my promise to myself.
How does that work with your friend group? Walk me through that process. You get an idea, we want to go. Is that 10 separate phone calls? Is
Well,
that a
now it
contact?
works like this.
How does that work?
Now it works like
Okay.
this. I say, I have a list, like a group text. I'm like, guys, I'm thinking, and before I even do anything, it's just like, yes, I'm in. So it works pretty easily. No, I copied it from my wife. She's been taking her friends away for 20 years on her birthday to amazing places. She doesn't tell them where they're going. She just either says hot or cold and the number of days, and they pack for that. And they meet in Atlanta, and they get on a plane, and she takes them wherever they're going. So I've done a little bit of my own version of that by just now recently starting to do annual trips.
Curate by
You get more friends quickly that way. Friend reduction goes to friend addition very quickly.
No doubt, but get to that point about friend reduction or friend addition, you got to be prepared. You know, this thing like you don't have to get ready if you stay prepared. Like I want to be on that list. That when somebody calls, it doesn't matter what it is. My answer can be yes because I'm probably not going to win it. You know, we're going rim to rim to rim. I'm not going to be the first guy, but I want to be in the game. I want to be on that list of capability and be prepared for that. Hey, last minute phone call, or it doesn't matter whether it's hot or cold or far or close or high or deep. The answer can still be yes.
Yes. Yeah. My friend Coach Chris, you know Coach Chris.
Yeah.
Coach Chris coined a great term, and that term is adventure ready. He's like, you always have to be adventure ready. You have to be in good enough shape that on a quick phone call, you could do anything. Mm-hmm. You know, if someone says, hey, we're going to go on this hiking thing, it just popped up, we're going next week to blah, 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 I'm ready, you know? So we always try to stay in adventure ready shape, but also adventure ready mindset, you know? When I talked about friend reduction, there's an old trait trick that's commonly known among stand-up comedians, improv comedians, that when you have a group of people and they tell a story and they pass it around, when you pass the story from comedian to comedian, the person that receives the story starts with yes and. So you'll be like, oh, I was at the park and a big ball came in, just yes, and then it's yes and yes and keeps the momentum going. And the people in my friends are all yes and people. Like, so if I say I'm doing something crazy, I want people in my circle that like, yes, that's amazing. That's so cool that you, versus why would you want to do that? You're gonna, I don't want that energy. I want support. I want people that are breathing momentum into my ideas and my vision and my dreams and my family and all that, versus people that like, why would you guys want to do that? And you get that a lot. If that was such a good idea, how come someone else hasn't done it? Or, all these things that I've been, so yes, and is not only do I want that, I want to be that to someone. You're telling me that you're launching a new digital thing and we're going to expand. I'm like, yes, that's amazing that you're going to take that risk and do that at this stage of your life. Like, I think that's amazing that I want to give that kind of energy to my community as well.
Have you picked your misogi for this year?
Yes.
By the way, I never knew of that word until you.
Yeah.
Now I can't stop thinking about that word.
I'm obsessed with it.
Obsessed with it also. And how to get it down, and like how can there be just one? I almost want multiple years because I feel like I can't just pick one. And then do I have to break it down to those smaller little things? Can't we just do more big things?
I don't think there's you have to have rules on it. The notion around it is a misogi is an old Japanese ritual. I actually learned of this from Kyle Korver, who played for the Hawks, because he was doing this every year. And I was like, this is insane. I want to do that. The notion is that you do one big year-defining thing every year, which is so important. You want to have, at the end of 2025, you want to take inventory and be like, what do I do?
Which was your one for 2025?
This year, I'm at the tail end of it. It was to run 2,025 miles this year. I'm going to have a very busy December. 2 years ago, it was Ultraman. 3 years ago, it was riding my bike across the country. Last year, we did rim to rim to rim. 2015, it was writing a book, my first book. 2017 was launching 29 hours. It's every year there's something. But just having that one kind of rule or system, you know, if you started even at 50 and you add one big year defining thing and you live to be 80, that's 30 monumental things that you've done. Like that's friggin', and you start at 30 and you live to 50, that's 50. So that's something that I've really stuck to, and I'm proud of that over the last several years. But next year, we're gonna do, 4 of us, welcome to join, we're doing a 29:29 triathlon. So what that is, we're swimming 29,029 yards, it's 5.5 miles, yards. We're biking 29,029 feet of vertical gain. That is fucking brutal. And then so first we're gonna swim 5.5 miles, then get on our bike and do 29,029 feet of cycling. And then we're gonna do an actual 29:29, all in that 5-day window, which is gonna be really hard.
And who came up with this one?
It was part of a brainstorm session, and when it clicked, we went nuts. We're like, God, I mean, I love all 3 of those disciplines. I love swimming, I love biking, I love running and hiking. So, but it's way harder than it sounds. Like biking 29,000, but Everesting on a bike is brutal. It's brutal.
Have you ever bailed? Meaning like you set one, you're like, okay, I overshot on this, or even like early on, Goggins is here and you do it, like nobody would know. Like, have you ever bailed, and like, what do you tell yourself about these challenges, commitments, and promises you make to yourself?
Well, I'm in this situation right now with running 2,025 miles, because I probably have, I don't even know, man, I haven't added it, but I'm gonna guess I have probably like 800 miles left, and the clock is ticking. And I really don't want to do it, because it's like going to be like literally all of December. It's going to be 5 hours a day if I want to do this. And I just have other things to do. So I'm insanely struggling with it in my head, because it's true. The people that do know aren't really going to care. And my ego's not going to get hurt if people are like, oh, you didn't finish? Like, I couldn't care less. So like, why do I really need to do this? Which goes back to like the whole motivation thing. But in my life, I would say no, I've never bailed that I can remember. But this one, I'm having a hard time saying why I should do it. But other than the fact that I've never bailed. So, but like, you know, like today I ran 5 miles this morning, and I'm like, I really need to go out and do like another 5 or 10 this afternoon. And like, kids are coming home from school at 4. I'm taking my daughter to dinner at 7. Is that how I want to spend my time? You know? So it's become a tough one.
Well, it's not bailing. Part of the notion of a Misogi is a chance of failure, because it's such a big goal. Explain that part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. Like, you want to pick something that is not, it's not a layup. You want to pick something that's, because the harder, like, through failure, you learn about, you know, if it's so easy, what do you really get out of it? So you want to suffer a little and make it like almost like a coin flip. That's the real way to do it. And we've tweaked the definition. We've taken the liberty to make it like 1 year, a year defining thing. Mm-hmm. But the true essence of it is to do something so hard, you're not sure you're going to be able to complete it.
And it's not always physical. That's the other thing I think to point out, that it's not always a big physical challenge. There's a challenge like writing a book that you mentioned, these other things that are in there. So it doesn't have to be kind of in that bucket of just insane physicality.
Yeah.
It can be another big, start a podcast, write a book, do something that is way outside of your comfort zone, that is monumental.
Yeah. It's funny because Kyle Korver, who gave me this whole Misogi thing, called me up and asked me if I wanted to join him and swim 10 miles in the pool. I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, you swim 10, like, how much are you swimming? He's like, oh no, I don't swim at all. He's like, if I swam, then I knew I'd be able to do it. Like, the whole point was like, I'm going to go swim. By the way, swimming 10 miles would take me like 6 hours. You know, like 6 hours. Like, but that was the reason why. It's like, no, I don't swim. That's exactly why I want to do this.
When did these things, that you have in your mind that you set out to do, when did they start to become calendarized, if you will, saying, okay, I am now going to take all these ideas, all these things that I want to do, and I am going to put them on a big ass calendar, if you will? Did it evolve from scraps of paper and Post-its and your own way of doing it to walk me through this system that is now developed for you?
I've never had a big year by accident. All the big years that I've had have come through planning. And I spend so much time planning my business stuff. I feel like a lot of people invest so much time planning around their business and their Zoom calls, and they just tend to wing it in their personal life. And that doesn't really work anymore. Like maybe when you're young. So over time, I've always been a planner. I've always had calendars with me or whatever. I've always been visual. But I think the calendar's become a really important tool for me to lay out my year so I can see it all and where I have gaps and where I don't have gaps and and get a really big picture of the lay of the land. So it got calendarized, I would say, over the last decade, really because of the kids and because where I am in my life. Like, I think in your 20s and 30s, you can kind of wing it because your schedule's a little bit differently. Like maybe you're working for a company and like your time is dictated differently. But as you get older, you really want to dictate your time. And how the hell do you do that without having a calendar or a way to kind of lay out a master plan?
Do you have a preference between wall or planner?
Oh, I would say this too. I think that because I keep hearing the word time, and I don't think it's so much about having more time as it is about having a better system. Like I don't think it's like you can't get more time, but you can have a better system. And I think that you said, when did it get systematized? And like, you're right, it's the system that I think is so important, you know?
Like I consider it, I would call it two things. One, a personal operating system. I never had one. I was rudderless for years, to your point. Just thinking that even entrepreneurship and life in general, if you were going to be a free spirit, you would wing it. That's what you do. And I've actually found that it's the opposite. The more I plan, the more I created a personal opting system, almost the more time I found, or at least the more open space. It's not more time, but the more open space that I was then able to fill. And then I was like, well, what do I want to put here in this midlife action plan? What do I want to fill it with? Because the time is finite, but now I've found more of it by having a system. So kind of was like ass backwards, the way I thought of it versus the way I think of it right now.
Yeah. I still wing it. Like I still have areas of my life that I wing it. I'm still spontaneous. I'm not saying everything has to be planned out, but I just think that it's important that you have, you start to lay out the things that matter. And but I leave a lot of space for being spontaneous and adventure ready.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you this at the beginning, but I want to ask for it now because now you said your daughter's coming home and you've got daughter dinner tonight. And how do you choose which teams you coach, what seasons you get involved? You've got 4 children on there. Do you coach them all? Do you have a system for that? I alternate between, these things.
I don't have a system, but I try to have an awareness of where all 4 of my kids are and what lanes I should be a part of. And so right now I'm coaching 3 different basketball teams. I'm coaching all 3 of my boys, basically. There's not a system around that. It's just like, again, like I age out of it. So here in Atlanta, after 5th grade, there's no more like dads can't coach. So again, like it's an awareness. I've been aware of that. I've been coaching basketball since 2nd grade because of that, So, and I love it, man. Like, it's just a good use of my time. I'm in the coaching business too, and I'm not my kids' coach other than their teams. I'm their dad, but even yesterday, like we were getting out of the car and I just emphasized to my son the importance of, he's on an all-star football team. And I was just saying, like, be a leader. I was just saying, like, pick everybody up, hit them on the head, be vocal, let the coaches know, like, that this matters to you. Be the best teammate and be known at the end of this little all-star team. You should your goal should be like, the coaches are like, what a leader, what a great kid, run after. I mean, I lectured him, and he's only 11, but I think it's important to like, and then for him to know that, you know? So if I'm not here, I can't really do that. And I can't, if I'm not seeing if I'm not at the practice and seeing what's going on, I can't really chime in and be like, you know, just my 2 cents. And I'm not trying to be overbearing on it, but if I'm not watching it and aware of it, I can't really coach or contribute, is a better word, to have input and maybe help steering him where I think I could give energy. I'm doing it for all the other people in the world. How can I not do it for my kids?
Is there, like, are you conscious of coaching your kids again versus being, again, their dad? More of like, I live and lead by example, and you'll see this, or I lecture you also, and then I'll stop after this one, you know?
I'm aware. I mean, I'm sensitive to that. You know, it's just like, it's a fine line between dad and coach, and there's times and a lot of it, the best way for me to have input is to show them. So my kids see me running in the rain every day, so they know that like I run. It doesn't matter what the weather is. I don't check the weather. I'm going no matter what. So they see that. My 9-year-old son ran a full marathon last year because they see me. It's not like it's become normal. It's not like, oh, I have to, you know. It's like, no, this is what I do, man, and they get to see it. So showing them versus telling them is a big part of, I think, the best way to do it. You know, Sarah takes my daughter to all of her. If she's filming something, if she's on set for, you know, getting an award, I mean, she'll pull Tepper, our daughter, out of school, and she'll take her. I mean, she wants her to see it, you know?
Why do you think so many couples are missing that thing? Like, again, I think these are life experiences not to be missed. Or why they think keeping the kid in school versus pulling them to that experience, you know, or staying in the office later versus getting to the practice. Like, why are so many guys missing this? What seems so obvious to me.
I don't know the answer. I think it's safe, and it's like, that's the rules and that's the route, and people like that herd mentality, like the, you know. But I've always been a zagger when people are zigging, you know. So I just, you know, it's like the old, it's Sarah always said to her employees at Spanx, if nobody taught you how to do your job, how would you do it? Like, if you ripped up the playbook that everyone's been using, how would you do it? And that's been our approach with school and everything else. Like, I don't want to do it that way, you know? Yeah.
Live events. I think you do some of the best live events out there. I mean, you're prepping for a big show right now and you're selling out a theater, but also Running Man, 29-0-29, something about building community and bringing people together. Why is this so important to you versus establish them, creating them versus even just going to them? There's a big difference between those two things.
Well, it goes back to what we said earlier. Like, I get energy from people, and I'm not good at a lot of things. I don't even like when people start saying, like, I do a podcast about being an entrepreneur or whatever, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, there's a million entrepreneurs better than me. Like, don't have me on the show to talk about entrepreneurship. Go get someone there's people that are way better than me at that, you know? They'll talk about like endurance running, or, yeah, I could talk about that because I've run 100-mile races and this and that, and I'm pretty well versed in it, but there's people that are better than that at me. But when it comes to live events and like systemizing your life, I'm really good at that. And I think there's no secret sauce. I didn't go to school for it. I just really care about it. I really care that everybody has a good time. And if people are spending money, I want them to get way more value than what they spent out of it. And I enjoy it. So, and we do all of our live events differently. I have a retreat program in 2026 where we have 4 different retreats that we're doing. And people can get a membership, and it's a year program, or they can go to all the retreats, or they can get a 6-month and go to half the retreats, and there's calls and all this stuff. But the retreats we set them up. One is a public speaking, like immersive 3-day public speaking course mixed in with hikes and saunas and cold plunges. One is a business retreat that we're doing at Duke University with Coach K. He's leading a leadership seminar, and he's taking us through his program that he uses, and we have others. It's going to be at Duke. One's a wellness retreat that Sanjay Gupta is leading with others, and then one is just it's called Built for Life. It's like almost like life mastery, where we're going to plan and do all this other stuff. But I'm going to all of them. I don't want to outsource that. I want to be there. I want to lead them. It's just like I got to feel it. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to change directions if the group feels like they want to go one way, even though the curriculum and the agenda says this. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big part of it, to give yourself the flexibility in live events to pivot, even in talks. You give speaking, sometimes something happens and you don't have to stay to the script the whole time. You have to read the room, and there's a human element to it that's not in the business plan. Mm-hmm. You got to go off the business plan sometimes.
I screenshotted your post from this morning of the 4 events. I was like, okay, I want to do every.
You got an open invite.
and every one of these. Thank you. You heard that. Okay, so
open invite.
So on there. But to that effect, it comes across to me also, hey, these are things I want to do.
Yes, they are.
Okay? These are things I want to do.
They are.
And just join me. Come on. And I don't want to be sitting down for speeches for 8 hours. So we're going to bring some other shit that I really like to do in the middle of it and make it all engaging and make it all fun. And if it's not your bag of fun, you probably aren't going to want to come to this. But
right.
There are enough people out there that you're finding, and a lot of them, we like to learn this way. We like to live this way. We
basically took summer camp, retreats, and conferences and mashed them all together into this kind of retreat program. Because you're right, I don't want to go sit and I want to go, let's learn about public. Let's map out a keynote for you. Let's give you all the tools. Let's give you everything, show you how to, everything about it. But after an hour or two, let's go walk around, let's get in the sun, and then let's come back and do it. Just more fun.
Well, that's about my attention span also.
Yeah, exactly. Who wants to sit in a room? Right, Totally. But no, I, to your point, I pick the things that I feel like I'm good at and I want to do. I want to learn from Coach K.
Do you think a lot of this is also I think there's an overemphasis of people trying to strengthen their weaknesses versus even strengthen their strengths. So they're spending a lot of time in these masterminds, these other kinds of retreats, to fix these weaknesses versus they could be a lot happier and healthier if they just actually strengthened their strength and go to the shit they really want to go to rather than the shit that they think that they should go to, which is going to so-called make them better.
That's true. I do think everybody should, if you have the opportunity, get as good as you can get at public speaking. And public speaking doesn't mean I'm giving a keynote in front of 5,000 people. It could be leading an all-staff call. It could be interacting on a job interview. It could be, communicating to your family or your friends or giving an interview in a podcast. But communication is so important. And where do you really go for that? Seriously, you went to Michigan. Did you ever take a class where they really taught you how to conduct yourself in a meeting, in an interview, on stage, on a panel discussion? I mean, I didn't. I actually did. I take that back. I did, and it changed my life. But it was a fluke. My senior year of college, I needed 3 credits, and my friends were like, "Take the public speaking class. It's a throwaway. It's so easy." And I'm like, "All right." So I signed up for this class. I walked in there. The professor's name was Barbara Davis. She changed my life. I sat there the first day, and I was like, "I love this." If there was one class I could take in college, it would be public speaking. George Bush said that too. He said, if I went back to college, the 2 things I would learn, actually, he said, it was all grouped into communication, was public speaking and writing. How to communicate.
I think they're both so important now, especially with everyone. We're losing great writers to AI too. I mean, how many great writers and speakers and authors are we seeing that are now even starting to lose their voice because they're delegating that stuff out to AI? And as far as speaking goes, this is what I wanted to touch on with you. You're an incredible storyteller. I think the aspect of your speaking which really connects with me and so many is that you tell great stories. You don't feel like, at least I don't feel like I am being spoken at. I feel like there's an engagement in the conversation, no matter who's in the room. And I love, like, even when you stood up there and you got like a little piece of paper and you uncrumple, it's like, and I just wrote this down on the plane,
Yeah.
you know, in here. And I don't think that there's enough of that out there. I think there's this polished keynote type thing that's going on, and everyone's got a framework and like a 3-word phrase or whatever, versus like, just bring me into your world a little bit and share great stories and have it be nuanced and kind
Yeah.
of perfectly imperfect, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think as a speaker, it's important to tell stories that only you can tell. You know, so many times I'll go to conferences and people will be like, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Anyone can say that. You want to tell stories that are unique to you. I think that's really important. The other day I did yesterday, I did a TED Talk, but for a new platform called the Genius Network. And when they were filming me, I made a couple of like hiccups, like not like stuttered, but just like, oh, what? And they're like, do you want to do it over? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do it over. That's like, I want, you know, and when I'm giving talks, they're like, do you want to have the someone else click I get this all the time. Do you want to have someone click through your slides versus having to go and look? And I'm like, no, that's what makes this human. Like, I don't want it polished. You know, I don't want it not intentionally not polished, but I want to, if I make a mistake, it's fine. If I have to, where's the clicker? You guys see the clicker? Like, oh, okay, that makes it more like relatable. And so I think those things are part of it and important. And everyone's trying to like make every hair look good and it doesn't have to be that way, you know? And like sometimes it was so funny yesterday before I went on this show, I'm like, can you show me one of the speakers that you did at the Genius thing? Can you show me one before? And the first guy that they showed me, I was watching it. I said, I just want to see the first 2 minutes, how he introduces this talk. So I'm watching it, and I study speakers like coaches study game film. I love watching TED Talks. I love listening to, I'm in that world. So like, why wouldn't I want to see how people introduce themselves and conduct themselves and how their mannerisms are and all that. So I'm watching this guy and I turn after like 8 seconds, I'm like, stop. I'm like, is he reading from a teleprompter? And they were like, no, he just has it memorized. And I was like, I didn't feel connected to it. I felt like it was so polished. So, you know, sometimes people buy into that more. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because they can relate to like the unpolished nature of it. Not unprepared, but not overly polished.
Who do you really like now? Like I saw you brought Ben Nempton to Running Man, like last minute in there. Who are you watching that you're into?
You know, there's not a lot of. I haven't seen a ton of really good public speakers. To be honest, I say this all the time. I like Mike Posner's talk. Have you seen Mike Posner's TED Talk?
I have not.
I like that. Colin O'Brady is very good. You've seen him at 29. I like watching my wife speak, quite honestly. I think she's like a human ChatGPT when it comes to business. Yeah. I like Robin Sharma. But I get little nuggets from, and that's not to say that I don't like people, but those people come to my mind as people that stand out.
Is that because those people that you're mentioning, those are doers?
They're doers, they're storytellers, I like storytellers. I don't like, you know, they don't have like a lot of slides. I like storytellers because and by the way, this is personal preference. Mm-hmm. I saw a really good TED Talk, Joshua Kaufman, I think he might have gone to Michigan, on how to master anything in 20 minutes was the theme of it. And it's friggin' good. He learns how to, in 20 hours. It's like a 20-hour rule, but he does this talk where he learns how to play the ukulele and he learns 1,000 songs in 20 hours. And he goes through it and it's fucking incredible. And it's a really good talk. And it's interesting. You don't need a lot of time to learn how to get really good at something. People think like, I'll give you an example. When I turned 50, I made a list of 50 things that I wanted to do in my life. I wanted to get better at. Ride a motorcycle, didn't know how to do that. Free dive, didn't know how to do that. Ping pong. As I started bringing these coaches in, one by one. I flew a guy in from Norway to teach me how to play ping pong. He lived here. And my ping pong game got nasty, by the way, quickly. But the first lesson that I had was free diving. So I had a free diving coach come in. And she goes, let's get a baseline. Hold your breath. I'm going to put you underwater. Every 15 seconds, which is what you do when you're holding your breath underwater because you don't want to shallow water blackout. They have to make sure every 15 seconds, you probably know this, Sutton, you just go like this with your finger, you tap the wall so they know you're okay. So she puts my head under the water, and this time I just ran a 100-mile race. I'm like, we're going to be here forever. So make sure your battery's charged in your timer because we're going to be here forever. They put my head underwater, 15 seconds, I tap, 30 seconds. I don't get to 30 seconds. I'm like, what? Retime me. Edit this out, retime me. So they're filming it. They put me 15 seconds, I tap, 31 seconds, I'm done. She gives me one lesson. One lesson. Retest me, 3 minutes. So it's like these skills, even business, public speaking. I don't need 3 days to teach someone, I think, how to become a better public speaker. They're like Rubik's Cubes. When you get a Rubik's Cube, you have no idea how to do it. But once you learn how to do it, my kids can do it in a minute. It's so easy once you know the secret. And it's the same of all these things. Public speaking, even sales, business, ping pong, you name it. Once you learn the technique and the basics and you figure out the Rubik's Cube, it gets easy. Planning a great life. Once you know the system and the Rubik's Cube, my year for 2026 is off the charts. It's planned. All I have to do is follow the script. I cracked the code. I got the cheat code. And I feel like that, and that's what I learned in this guy's TED Talk about 20 hours. I learned the guy's playing 1,000 songs on the ukulele in 20 hours.
Do you read, listen, absorb, or do, or again, to crack the code, as you will? Does it come more from doing or listening? Like, do you go full books? Do you go full podcast? Do you spend time doing that? Or you go, hey, if you just give me the answer to the test, and then I want to go into apply mode and start testing and retesting this, see what works and what doesn't. Because if the tapping thing in the water didn't work, if you didn't go from 30 seconds to 3 minutes, do you find another coach really quickly? Or do you just okay?
Well, I learn best through immersion. So I don't really retain a lot when I read. I can read a whole book, and you could ask me what book am I reading, and I'd be like, oh my God, I don't even remember the name of the book. And I'm like 400 pages into it, I swear. So that doesn't work for me. It's just like, why spend the time reading this whole book when 3 minutes later, I don't even know who the author is? So that's done. I learn, but I watch a lot of videos and I learn a lot through immersion. So, I lived on a monastery. I wanted to learn more about spirituality. I'm like, I can't read the book. I'm not going to remember it. Who are the masters? Monks. I went and lived on a monastery with 8 monks that had been there for 50 years for 3 weeks. I live with Goggins, learn a little bit about grit, mental toughness, and I want some of that to rub off on me. If I don't watch a video and if I want to learn how to shoot a gun, I call Chad and I'm like, take me to the range and show me, So I need to be shown and taught. That's the best way that I retain and learn and then put it into practice. So that's why I brought the coaches in to teach me versus watching a YouTube video on how to play ping pong. Bring me Yoda from Norway.
And it's more fun.
It's more fun.
And that's important.
It's also just quicker. I'm about efficiency and speeding up we're entrepreneurs. We got to get from A to B the fastest. That's what we do. How do we speed up the process? So the quickest way for me, and I realize people aren't going to fly in coaches from all over the world, but I can. And I saw someone, if I see someone, this is how my operating system works. It's kind of like in 5th grade when you meet someone in class and you write a note you want to be my friend and you pass it to them, check yes or no. When I see someone that's interesting or has a skill that I want to learn, I call them up, I try to become their friend, and I try to have them over. I met someone that was, she's one of a handful of people that can, she's a body language expert that worked for the FBI or the CIA, and she can tell if people are lying or telling the truth, and if you're nervous or not nervous, and she could basically decode you quickly based on your mannerisms. And I'm like, I want that, you know? So I hired her for 10 sessions to teach me little tricks, simple things like if I keep repeating your name or if I touch you, and little things that can send signals to people to buy or not buy, interested, not interested. So I'm constantly doing that. I just hired a guy that's a movement expert to come in for 3 days in December because I'm not flexible. I want to become more flexible. So he's coming and staying with me for 3 days. Now I have the luxury of being able to do that, which is an insane gift. But if I can learn that way, imagine this. Let's say that it did take 20 hours to get really good at something. Let's just say that this guy in the crazy YouTube video is right, and you could get pretty good at something in 20 hours. And give me 20 hours of intense learning about free diving, I'm gonna be pretty damn good. You know, give me 20 hours of ping pong with Michael Jordan at ping pong from Norway, Yen, whatever the guy's, Jorg, I think his name was. I'm gonna get pretty good, you know? So imagine, what if I just did that a couple of times a year, you know, twice? And let's say my kids did that. We just 20 hours, you're gonna learn some jujitsu, or you're gonna learn how to play the guitar or whatever, and they're 10. And let's say they just stuck with it till they were, for the next, I embedded that in their head. Every year, let's learn something new, 20 hours. Let's just spend 15 minutes a day until we get to 20 hours, you know? By the time they're 30, they're gonna be fucking Jason Bourne. They'll be Jason Bourne. And I think that is really, really important. And by the way, I am doing that with my children.
Is it 20 hours or like the other one is 10,000 hours? You know, like, or like
10,000 hours to be Tiger Woods.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, I think this notion of generalist or specialist, like I slant more towards being a generalist, meaning like, okay, again, I want to be in good enough shape to show up and say yes.
Well,
I want to be good enough at a lot of different things, but I'm not going to do the 10 hours of singular focus to be Tiger Woods. But you rattle off the list of ping pong and free dive, you know, I go, wow, I'd love to be like decent, you know, or pretty good at all of those.
20 hours you can be, if you do 20, this guy wrote a book about, I got to get I think his name is Joshua Kaufman, I'm pretty sure. But of course I can't retain anything from the book, but the spirit of it was, it's the intensity of the learning in a short amount of time consistently, and it's 20 hours. It's not 5 minutes a day until you get to 20 hours. It's compounding it quickly. Okay. But there's something called the rule of 100. And the rule of 100 states that if you spend 15 minutes a day for a year, which is 109 hours, okay? So the rule of 100 is 100 hours. 15 minutes a day for a year is basically 100 hours in any discipline. You'll be better than 95% of the world's population in that discipline. That doesn't mean if you do golf, you're going to be Tiger Woods, but you will be better than 95% of the world at whatever it is that you're doing. So, you know, it doesn't take a lot of time, but it takes the consistency.
Do you make resolutions?
No.
Why not?
Because they've never worked. I tried it for 2 decades and it never works. But instead of that, what does work for me is I have a very, very simple counter system to resolutions. And that is I try to add one winning habit or routine a quarter. So for example, I don't drink enough water. I'm gonna drink 100 ounces of water every day for, next 90, whatever. I'm never gonna be late to a meeting. I'm gonna add a 10-minute a day meditation practice to my life. So I'm always layering in winning habits and winning routines, but I'm not holding a gun to my head and saying that my resolution is, I'm gonna, whatever it is. They just don't work. And by the way, that doesn't work for me, but like statistically, resolutions, I think like 90% fail, right? Something like 92% of the New Year's resolutions fail. I think it goes up if you write them down a bit, but most of them don't come to fruition?
If I wasn't here today, what would you be doing? What else would be on your calendar?
You see that sauna right there?
Okay.
I'd be in there right now probably for a good hour or two. Well, what, you're 52 years old?
Be 53 next month, yes.
So what's your biggest regret? I'll tell you what mine is.
Okay. You want to go first? Or
No, you go first. It looked like you were thinking, so I was going to give you time. If you have one.
I'm thinking about how truthful I want to be.
Well, you don't have to be that truthful.
You know, and that's the thing. Biggest regret is I don't talk to my brothers right now.
That's fixable, though.
So I'm hoping it's not going to be my biggest regret for very long.
Yeah, I mean, that's fixable, though.
Yes.
That's a good kind of, I mean, there's two kinds of regrets. There's three. There's the regrets that you can fix. There's the regrets that you can't fix, like if, God forbid, something happened to your brother, like you can't get that chance again. And then there's the regrets that you can avoid. So, for example, I know I want to run this race Badwater. If I don't do it, I'm going to regret it in 30 years from now. And I'm like, God, I should have done it when I was 57, when I was still able to do it. So there's the regrets that you can fix, the regrets you can't fix, and the regrets you can avoid. So you want to get in front of the regrets that you can avoid. And that's an avoidable regret down the road. My biggest regret, not my biggest, I don't know what my biggest is, but one thing that I wish I had done is I wish I kept a journal. Like I wish I journaled when I was younger, so I can't remember a lot of the amazing, now I have it in my calendar. That is my journal. And I can remember, you know, I go back at the end of the year and I write in things on my calendar, everything that I did, kids, games, scores, touchdowns, this. And then I have like this amazing, my whole life, my whole year on one piece of paper. But I wish I had that in my 30s, man. I wish I knew, like, you know, I can't remember some of the amazing things that I did in my 20s and 30s and 40s. But maybe, I guess at least I have it in my 50s.
That's a good one. I mean, I consider myself a slow learner and a late bloomer. So a lot of these things I'm doing now, like planning and putting it down and keeping track of things and doing it, okay, started late, but 50 to 70 year window, that's 20 years worth of documentation.
Yeah,
You know,
and it's a quarter of your life.
Think about the things I want to leave my boys. You know, what do I want to wear? You know, do I want to say that this watch, you know, hiked this many mountains and went here? And like, what are those experiences and things that I want to track and hold on to that can be passed along? Didn't have a lot of those either.
Yeah, that's good. Good stuff. Well, thank you, man.
This has been wonderful. This has been a Misogi moment for me.
No.
Out here.
And I look at it all the time. I look at my planner travels with me everywhere I go.
I love this format. I love the size of this as well.
So do I.
Like, to me, this is like
I love
perfect.
it. I'm obsessed with this.
Yeah, definitely.
You guys want a sauna? What do you guys have to do?
Show me your calendar. I will show you your priorities. It is one of my mantras. It's one of the things at Midlife Male that we take very, very seriously. Here it is. I'm going to show you my calendar. This is the month of December. This is what's left. I've got XPT, Go Ruck Marathon in Sedona. We got a family trip to Manhattan Beach. I'm turning 53 years old. It is all here. My whole year is in this 2025 big ass planner. And you know what I'm excited for now? 2026, baby. Here it is. This is the new version. It's even better than last year's, and I cannot wait to get this open and get everything on the calendar. Show me your calendar. I will show you your priorities. Say it over and over again. I am putting adventures, birthdays, trips, college graduation. It's all going on here, and I cannot wait to get this filled out. Get your big ass planner. Own your life today. Thanks so much for listening. If you can leave us a review on Spotify or Apple, that would mean so much to us and really help us out. Also, be sure to subscribe and check us out on YouTube at Midlife Men. We'll see you next time.